If you have been waiting for something to change, if you've been praying, hoping, and wondering why nothing seems to be happening, if you've started asking yourself, "Has Jesus forgotten me?" then stay with this message. Because what you cannot see does not mean nothing is happening. Sometimes the quietest season of your life can be the beginning of something you never expected. My beloved child, I know you've been waiting. You've been waiting for an answer, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for something in your life to finally make sense. And perhaps the hardest part isn't even the waiting itself. The hardest part is wondering whether anyone sees you while you wait. You look around and see other people moving forward. Someone else receives the opportunity you wanted. Someone else reaches the goal you've been working toward. Someone else's life seems to be changing while yours feels strangely still. And quietly, somewhere inside your heart, you begin asking, when will it be my turn? Maybe you've asked that question more times than you want to admit. Maybe you've smiled around people while carrying that question inside. Maybe you've even wondered whether your prayers are being heard. My child, you are not forgotten. The fact that you cannot see the answer today does not mean your story has been ignored. The fact that the door hasn't opened yet does not mean there will never be another door. And the fact that your life looks quiet right now does not mean that nothing is happening. You are looking at the present. You cannot see everything that is ahead. And because you cannot see it, your mind sometimes fills the unknown with fear. You imagine the worst. You assume the opportunity is gone. You assume the dream is impossible. You assume the delay means rejection, but a delay and a denial are not always the same thing. Sometimes you simply don't have the full picture yet. My beloved child, think about how little you can see when you're standing in the middle of a story. If you opened a book halfway through, you might see a character crying and think the story was ending. But perhaps the next chapter contains the beginning of their greatest transformation. You cannot judge the entire story from one difficult page, and I don't want you to judge your life from one difficult season. You may be in a chapter you don't understand, but that doesn't mean the story has no purpose. You may be walking through uncertainty, but that doesn't mean you're walking toward nothing. You may feel like you're standing still, but perhaps you're being prepared to move in a direction you haven't considered yet. My child, there are seasons when I want you to move quickly, and there are seasons when I want you to learn how to wait. Waiting is uncomfortable because it removes your illusion of control. When you are moving, you feel like you're doing something. When you're waiting, you may feel powerless. You wonder, what am I supposed to do? Sometimes the answer is not to force the door. Sometimes the answer is to prepare yourself while the door remains closed. Use the waiting season. Don't waste it. If you're waiting for an opportunity, become more prepared. If you're waiting for growth, keep learning. If you're waiting for a better future, build better habits today. If you're waiting for clarity, give yourself time to think. If you're waiting for change, change what is within your control. Don't spend your entire waiting season staring at the door. Look at yourself. Ask, who am I becoming while I wait? Because sometimes the most important part of waiting isn't what you're waiting for. It's who you become while you're waiting. My beloved child, you want the answer. But sometimes what you need first is preparation. Imagine receiving an opportunity before you're ready for it. You might not know how to handle it. You might lose something valuable because you weren't prepared to protect it. You might reach the destination without developing the strength required to remain there. That's why preparation matters. You may be asking, why hasn't it happened yet? And perhaps one day you'll look back and realize that the extra time gave you something you didn't know you needed. Patience, wisdom, discipline, maturity, understanding, character. Sometimes you ask for a different situation when what needs to change first is you. My child, I know that can be difficult to hear because you want the external situation to change. You want the circumstances to change. You want the people around you to change. You want the opportunity to appear. But sometimes your greatest transformation begins inside you, and nobody applauds internal growth. Nobody sees the decision you made not to react in anger, Nobody sees the moment you chose patience. Nobody sees the temptation you walked away from. Nobody sees the time you spent learning instead of wasting your day. Nobody sees the moment you decided to try again after failing. But those moments matter. They are building something inside you. My beloved child, stop thinking that progress only counts when everyone can see it. Some of the most important progress in your life will happen quietly. You will become calmer, wiser, stronger, more patient, more disciplined, more compassionate, more confident in who you are. And one day, someone may look at you and say, "You've changed." They may not know how many quiet decisions created that change. They may not know how many times you had to start again. They may not know how many times you chose hope when giving up would have been easier. But you will know, and you will understand that the quiet season wasn't empty. It was building you. My child, I also know that you've been tempted to compare your timeline with everyone else's. You see someone younger than you succeeding. You see someone with fewer resources, achieving something you wanted. You see someone who started later moving faster. And suddenly you begin questioning your own journey. But listen carefully. Their timeline is not your assignment. You don't need to become successful at the exact same age as someone else. You don't need to reach the same destination. You don't need to live their life. And you don't need to measure your worth by how quickly you reach a particular goal. Your journey has its own lessons. Your circumstances are different. Your experiences are different. Your strengths are different. Your responsibilities are different. So stop using another person's chapter to criticize your own. My beloved child, sometimes comparison steals the joy from progress. You can be improving and still feel behind because you're looking at someone who is further ahead. But what if instead of looking sideways, you looked forward? What if you asked, "Am I becoming better than I was yesterday?" That's the comparison that matters. Are you learning? Are you growing? Are you becoming more disciplined? Are you becoming more patient? Are you becoming more honest with yourself? Are you making better choices? If the answer is yes, then don't dismiss your progress simply because someone else is further ahead. A small step is still a step. My child, there will be moments when you feel like your effort isn't producing anything. You work, you try, you improve, you keep going, and still, the result doesn't appear. That can be incredibly discouraging. You may think, "What's the point?" But don't confuse a lack of immediate results with a lack of progress. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. A skill doesn't become mastery after one practice session. A strong character isn't built in one difficult moment, and a meaningful life isn't created by one perfect day. It is built through repeated choices, day after day, decision after decision, step after step. My beloved child, don't underestimate consistency. You don't have to change your entire life in one day. You don't have to become a completely different person tomorrow morning. Start with something small. Wake up and make one better choice. Use your time wisely. Speak with kindness. Do the work you have been avoiding. Learn something useful. Take responsibility for what belongs to you. Let go of something that keeps pulling you backward. Then do it again tomorrow. Small choices become habits. Habits shape character. And character influences the direction of your life. My child, you have been asking for a sign that things are going to get better, but sometimes the sign you are waiting for is not going to look the way you imagined. Maybe it won't be a dramatic moment. Maybe it will be a new idea, a conversation, an unexpected opportunity, a person entering your life at the right time, a door closing that you thought you needed, a new desire developing inside you, a sudden understanding of something that confused you for years. You may be expecting one kind of answer while life is quietly preparing another, so keep your heart open. Don't decide in advance what the answer has to look like. My beloved child, there are doors you are trying to force open because you are convinced they are the only doors that can lead to your future. But what if they aren't? What if you're holding on to something simply because you already invested so much time in it? What if you're afraid to let go because you don't know what comes next? Sometimes you keep staring at a closed door because you're afraid to turn around, but there may be another direction. There may be another opportunity. There may be another path. And sometimes what feels like loss is actually redirection. That doesn't mean every disappointment is easy. It isn't. You are allowed to be disappointed. You are allowed to grieve what didn't happen. You are allowed to admit that something hurt, but don't allow disappointment to convince you that your future has ended. My child, you can be disappointed and still have hope. You can cry and still believe. You can be tired and still continue. You can be uncertain and still take the next step. You don't have to pretend everything is perfect. Real faith doesn't require you to deny what you're feeling. It teaches you not to let those feelings become the final authority over your life. So if you're tired, acknowledge it. If you're disappointed, acknowledge it. If you're confused, acknowledge it. Then ask, what is my next right step? Not 10 steps, not 10 years, just the next one. My beloved child, I know you want certainty, but sometimes certainty comes only after you begin moving. You want to know where the road ends before taking the first step, but life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you learn the next part of the road by walking the part that's already visible. You don't need to see the whole staircase. Take the step you can see, then the next, then the next. And eventually, you'll look back and realize you traveled much farther than you thought possible. My child, don't let your current uncertainty become an excuse to stop growing. You may not know what career you'll have. You may not know where you'll live. You may not know who will be part of your future. You may not know exactly how your dream will happen, but you can still become wiser today. You can still become stronger today. You can still become more disciplined today. You can still treat people better today. You can still prepare today. And that's enough. Because when the next opportunity arrives, you won't need to become ready overnight. You'll already be becoming the person who can handle it. My beloved child, I want you to remember one final thing before we continue this message. Silence does not mean abandonment. A quiet season does not mean you have been forgotten. A delay does not automatically mean failure. And uncertainty does not mean there is no future. Sometimes you simply cannot see what is happening beyond the part of the road you're currently standing on. So don't make a permanent conclusion from a temporary season. Don't say, nothing will ever change. You don't know that. Don't say, my best days are already behind me. You don't know that. Don't say, I have missed my chance. You don't know that. You are still here. There is still time to learn, still time to grow, still time to make better decisions, still time to begin again, still time to become someone you haven't yet imagined. And the message isn't finished here. Because now that you understand that you are not forgotten, there is another question you need to face. What should you do while you're waiting? How do you keep believing when nothing seems to be changing? How do you protect your heart from disappointment? How do you keep moving forward without knowing exactly when the answer will come? That's where we will continue next. For now, remember this: you are not forgotten. Your waiting season is not necessarily wasted. Your quiet season is not necessarily empty. And your current chapter is not the final chapter of your story. Keep preparing, keep growing, keep walking, keep your hope alive. Because sometimes the thing you've been waiting for is not simply a change in your circumstances, but the preparation of the person who will be ready when the moment finally arrives. My beloved child, we left with one question. What should you do while you're waiting? How do you keep believing when nothing seems to be changing? How do you protect your heart from disappointment? How do you continue moving forward when you don't know when the answer will come? The first thing I want you to understand is this: don't let waiting become your identity. You may be waiting for something, but you are not only someone who is waiting. You are still living. You are still learning. You are still growing. You are still becoming. Don't put your entire life on pause because one part of it hasn't happened yet. Perhaps you're waiting for a relationship. Perhaps you're waiting for financial stability. Perhaps you're waiting for a career opportunity. Perhaps you're waiting for a dream to finally become reality. Perhaps you're waiting for an answer to something you've been asking about for a long time. Whatever it is, don't let that one unanswered question steal every good thing that exists in your life today. Look around. There are still people you can love. There are still things you can learn. There are still moments you can enjoy. There are still opportunities to become better. There are still reasons to be grateful. You don't have to postpone your entire life until one particular thing happens. My child, sometimes you say, I'll be happy when I succeed. I'll be happy when I have more money. I'll be happy when I reach my goal. I'll be happy when someone finally notices me. I'll be happy when everything becomes easier. But if you make happiness dependent on one future event, you may spend years overlooking the life that is already happening. Dream about tomorrow. Prepare for tomorrow. Work toward tomorrow. But don't forget to live today. Today is not merely the waiting room for your future. Today is part of your life too, my beloved child. You also need to protect yourself from the voice that says, it's never going to happen. That voice becomes louder when you are tired. It becomes louder after disappointment. It becomes louder when you see someone else succeed. And if you listen long enough, you may start treating fear like it is a fact. But fear is not prophecy. Just because your mind can imagine something going wrong doesn't mean it will. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. Some thoughts deserve to be questioned. When your mind says, you're too late, ask, how do I actually know that? When it says, everyone is ahead of you, ask, am I really comparing the whole truth? When it says, you will always fail, ask, what have my past experiences actually taught me? Learn to examine your thoughts instead of automatically obeying them. My child, your mind needs direction just as your feet do. If you allow every fearful thought to lead you, you'll eventually walk in circles. So choose your focus carefully. Focus on what you can do. Focus on what you can learn. Focus on what you can improve. Focus on the people you can encourage. Focus on the responsibilities in front of you. Focus on becoming stronger from the inside. And when something is outside your control, release it. My beloved child, another thing you need while waiting is patience with yourself. You are often patient with other people but incredibly harsh with yourself. You forgive someone else for making a mistake. But when you make one, you replay it 100 times. You understand when someone else needs time to grow. But when you need time, you call yourself slow. You encourage other people to keep trying. But when you struggle, you tell yourself that you should have already figured everything out. Why are you so gentle with everyone else and so cruel toward yourself? You are allowed to be a work in progress. You don't need to have everything figured out. You are learning. Give yourself room to grow. My child, think about how a child learns to walk. They don't stand up once and immediately run across the room. They take a step. They stumble. They try again. They fall. They stand again. And eventually, something that once seemed impossible becomes natural. Growth often looks like that. You will have days when you feel strong. You will have days when you stumble. You will have days when you make progress. You will have days when you need to begin again. Don't let one difficult day convince you that you haven't grown. Look at the entire journey, my beloved child. You also need to stop believing that every closed door is a punishment. Sometimes a closed door protects you from something you cannot see. Sometimes an opportunity doesn't work out because you were meant to develop in another direction. Sometimes the thing you desperately wanted would have created a life you wouldn't have been happy living. You don't know everything. And because you don't know everything, you cannot always understand why something didn't happen. That's why you need patience. You can say, I don't understand this right now, but I won't allow my confusion to destroy my hope. You can grieve what you lost without believing that everything is lost. You can be disappointed without becoming hopeless. You can let go without believing that your life is over. My child, sometimes the greatest act of faith is not saying, I know exactly what will happen. Sometimes it's saying, I don't know what will happen, but I will keep moving forward anyway. That's courage. That's growth. That's trust. My beloved child, there is something else I want you to stop doing. Stop constantly asking, why isn't my life like theirs? You don't know what their private battles look like. You don't know what sacrifices they made. You don't know what they are struggling with. You don't know what they will face tomorrow. You only see a small part of their story. So don't compare your behind the scenes with somebody else's highlight reel. Instead ask, what is my next chapter asking from me? Maybe it's discipline. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's courage. Maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe it's learning. Maybe it's letting go. Maybe it's simply continuing. Whatever this season is teaching you, don't waste the lesson by obsessing over someone else's journey. My beloved child, you may not see the results yet, but keep planting, keep learning, keep preparing, keep becoming. There is a difference between waiting passively and waiting purposefully. Passive waiting says, I'll do nothing until something happens. Purposeful waiting says, while I wait, I'll become ready. Choose the second. If the opportunity comes tomorrow, be ready. If it comes next month, be ready. If it takes longer than expected, keep preparing. Don't let uncertainty become an excuse to stop developing yourself, my child. Your future needs a version of you that is stronger than the version standing here today, and perhaps that's why this season feels uncomfortable. Growth often requires you to leave behind parts of yourself that once felt familiar, old habits, old excuses, old fears, old patterns, old ways of thinking. You can't become someone new while constantly protecting everything old. At some point, you have to say, this no longer belongs in my future, and let it go. My beloved child, maybe you've been waiting for someone else to change. You've been thinking, if they would just treat me differently, I'd be okay. If they would finally understand me, I'd have peace. If they would apologize, I could move forward. But don't hand your entire peace to another person's decisions. You can wish for someone to change without making your life dependent on it. You can forgive without pretending something didn't hurt. You can create distance from unhealthy situations without hatred. And you can move forward even when you never received the apology you hoped for. Sometimes closure doesn't come from another person. Sometimes closure begins when you decide, I'm not carrying this pain into my future anymore. My child, release what you cannot change. Not because it didn't matter. It mattered. But because your future matters too. Don't let something that happened years ago control the next 10 years of your life. You deserve the opportunity to grow beyond what happened to you, my beloved child. And when you finally begin seeing change, don't become afraid of it. Sometimes people pray for a new season and then become uncomfortable when the old one actually ends. New opportunities can feel scary. New responsibilities can feel overwhelming. A new direction can feel uncertain. But remember what you asked for. You wanted growth. Growth means you may have to learn new things. You may have to step outside your comfort zone. You may have to become more responsible. You may have to make decisions you've never made before. Don't mistake unfamiliarity for a wrong direction. Sometimes you're simply standing at the beginning of something new. My child, I want you to become comfortable with beginning again. Beginning again is not embarrassing. Starting over is not proof that you failed. Sometimes starting again is evidence that you refused to stay where you were. You may need to restart a goal, restart a habit, restart your discipline, restart your hope, restart your effort. Do it. You don't need permission from the people who watched you fail the first time. You don't need to explain every new beginning. Just begin. My beloved child, one day you may look back at this season and realize that you were asking the wrong question. You were asking, why isn't anything happening? But perhaps the better question was, what is happening inside me while I wait? Maybe you became stronger. Maybe you became wiser. Maybe you discovered what truly matters. Maybe you learned who was genuinely there for you. Maybe you stopped chasing things that were never meant for you. Maybe you discovered abilities you didn't know you had. Maybe you learned to trust yourself more. Maybe you learned patience. Maybe you learned how to begin again. And perhaps one day you'll understand why you needed this season. My child, I know you want the complete picture right now, but you don't need it. You only need enough light for the next step. So take that step, then another, and another. Don't demand that the entire future reveal itself before you move. Your responsibility is today. Your opportunity is today. Your choice is today. Tomorrow will come when it comes. And when it does, you will face it with everything you have learned. My beloved child, I want you to remember these words whenever you feel forgotten. Silence is not abandonment. A delay is not proof that your life has been rejected. A difficult season is not proof that your future will always be difficult. And an unanswered question is not the same as a hopeless future. You are still becoming. You are still learning. You are still moving. You are still here. And that means your story is still being written. My child, don't give up because the answer hasn't arrived on your schedule. Don't abandon your dream because the first path didn't work. Don't abandon yourself because someone else didn't believe in you. Don't stop growing because the results are taking longer than expected. Keep going, not recklessly, not desperately, but patiently, wisely, faithfully, one step at a time. My beloved child, there will be moments when you have to remind yourself, I don't need to know when. I just need to keep preparing. You don't need to know exactly how everything will happen. You don't need to know who will help you. You don't need to know which opportunity will arrive. You don't need to know every detail. Just become ready, because when the right moment arrives, you don't want to look back and realize that you spent the entire waiting season doing nothing. Use this time, build yourself, strengthen your character, improve your skills, take care of your responsibilities, be kind, stay humble, learn, grow, and keep your heart open. My child, your future isn't determined by one bad day. It isn't determined by one rejection. It isn't determined by one mistake. It isn't determined by one person leaving. It isn't determined by one opportunity disappearing. Your life is bigger than any single event. So don't let one chapter convince you that the whole book is finished. There are still pages ahead. There are still possibilities ahead. There are still lessons ahead. There are still moments you haven't experienced, and there may be blessings ahead that you cannot even imagine today. My beloved child, when you finally reach the place you've been waiting for, you may realize something beautiful. You weren't simply waiting for the opportunity. You were becoming the person who could carry it. You weren't simply waiting for success. You were learning how to handle responsibility. You weren't simply waiting for the right moment. You were learning patience. You weren't simply waiting for an answer. You were learning how to keep moving without having every answer. And then you'll understand why the journey mattered, my child. So today, I want you to stop saying, I've been forgotten. Replace it with, I am still becoming. Stop saying, nothing is happening. Say, I am still preparing. Stop saying, everyone is ahead of me. Say, I am walking my own journey. Stop saying, it's too late. Say, I still have another step to take. And when fear tells you to quit, answer it with action. Take one more step. My beloved child, you don't need to see the entire future to have hope. You don't need to understand every delay to remain patient. You don't need everyone to believe in you to keep growing. You don't need immediate results to know that your effort matters. Keep going. Your quiet work matters. Your unseen growth matters. Your preparation matters. Your character matters. Your faith matters. And even if today looks ordinary, don't underestimate what ordinary days can build over time. My child, one day you will realize that the waiting season didn't destroy you. It developed you. It taught you. It refined you. It redirected you. And it prepared you. So don't waste this season wishing it away. Use it. Learn from it, grow through it, and when the next chapter opens, walk into it with everything you've learned. My beloved child, you are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not too late. You are not disqualified because things took longer than expected. You are still on your journey, and your journey is still moving forward. So breathe. Let go of the need to know everything. Stop comparing. Stop rushing. Stop allowing fear to write the ending before the story is finished. Keep preparing, keep learning, keep believing, keep moving, and most importantly, Do not give up on the chapter you haven't reached yet, because you don't know what is waiting on the other side of this season. You don't know what one opportunity could change. You don't know what one decision could lead to. You don't know who you could become. You don't know how much stronger you can grow. So don't close the door on your own future. Keep walking, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one step at a time. And when you look back, you may realize that the season you once called waiting was actually one of the most important seasons of your life, because it taught you how to become ready. It taught you how to be patient. It taught you how to keep going. And it taught you that even when you couldn't see what was happening, you were never forgotten. If this message touched your heart, take a moment before you leave and ask yourself, what am I waiting for? And who am I becoming while I wait? Don't waste your waiting season. Use it to grow. Use it to prepare. Use it to become stronger. And when the right opportunity comes, you'll be ready. If this message encouraged you today, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope right now. And in the comments, write, Jesus, I trust your timing. Whenever you feel forgotten, come back to this message. Remember, you are not forgotten. You are not too late. Your story is not over. Keep going. May Jesus fill your heart with peace, give you strength for today, wisdom for tomorrow, and the courage to keep walking, even when you cannot see the entire road ahead. Your waiting season has a purpose. Your story is still being written, and the chapter ahead may be more beautiful than you ever imagined. Keep the faith, keep moving forward, and never give up.